Musicians, vocalists, or instrumentalists dwell simultaneously in two worlds: an external world of practice and performance, and an internal world of self doubts, dilemmas, contentment, and possible bliss. The canvas becomes intense if the context is Indian classical music, be it Khyal or Carnatic. How does a musician navigate these worlds while staying focused on the art and craft? What are the joys and agonies of an accompanying artist? What are the subtle processes of waiting and anticipating between a lead and accompanying artist? What does it mean to be pragmatic and anchored in this profession? How to balance traditions with modernity and keep evolving as a musician? To explore this subject and more, here is a conversation with Vijay Natesan, one of India's finest Mridangam players, a Talmani and a child prodigy, having performed across India and around the world. Come December, Vijay finds himself playing at the prestigious Margazhi Festival in Chennai. As an accompanist, my role is to support the lead artist and elevate the overall musical experience, he says. Welcome, Vijay, to this conversation.
Thank you, Bilind. It is such a pleasure to be here with you.
You know, with somebody like you sitting next to me, we are doing this recording, in person at my home studio here, with a Talmani and with somebody who's been bestowed the most prestigious award of Kanchi Kamakshi Asthana Vidwan, and one of the finest Mridangam players in India today. Sitting next to me, I'm actually sitting on some kind of mixed feelings. On one side, I am super excited, elated, so honored and privileged, Vijay, to have over here for this conversation. At the same time, with so much about you available in the online world in terms of your performances, whether it is on YouTube videos or so much of literature about you, and so many music festivals that you have performed, not just in India, all over the world. I'm asking myself, what is it that I would, choose as a conversation subject with you? And I don't know. I mean, somehow my mind goes back to a gift my wife gave me on our 15th wedding anniversary. It was a 2-part DVD set titled The Inside and Outside World of Shah Rukh Khan. She is one of those Shah Rukh Khan fans. So maybe, I don't know, I'll probably try and focus on the theme of the inside and the outside world of Vijay, if it is okay with you.
Absolutely. It sounds great. So, thank you so much for this wonderful intro that led into this conversation. So, it's indeed an honor for me to actually be introduced as a musician, which is what it was my father's dream to make me a musician. It was his will for him to become a musician. And then that he could not take up music as a profession, that he got into his chartered accountancy and then his job, and how the typical corporate career works. So it was his will to see that I become a musician. At least I pursue it in the right sense, and if not professional, at least play it professionally. If not take it up as a profession, what you mean, the difference in that. So in a sense, that actually I'm living his will. So he's seeing a success in his lifetime through his son. So, and I'm equally happy that it is. If I look back and see, it seems like all this had to happen, and we are just an instrument. So, Vijay Natesan, of course, is an identity that we all create for ourselves, the identity that we have. But at the end of the day, it's a great journey. And inside out, if you see, it's been a roller coaster of a ride, you know. Starting and being raised in Bombay, uh, taking up lessons right from the age of 4. Actually, I wanted to share a small incident. My father was very much interested. He wanted to learn Mridangam, but somehow he didn't. He was not fortunate enough to get the right training. And by the time he finished his chartered accountancy, he went to Chennai. He stayed with the legendary Padma Bhushan TV Gopalakrishnan. If you don't know, I mean, he's a guru of Maestro Ilayaraja, and
And you have played for Sir TVG.
I've been with him for so many years now, and I've also accompanied him, and have learned so many things, because he was one of the team members of Pandit Ravi Shankarji when they did the world tour.
Wow.
In 1974, 6 months tour. So he was one amongst Shivakumar Sharma ji, Hariprasad Chaurasha ji, L. Subramaniam, Hallara Kasab, all those. So TVG sir was one of them, because Ravi Shankarji very pointedly wanted somebody who could also sing and play Mridangam.
Yes.
So TVG sir and TVG sir, I don't know if you know, he also can sing Hindustani.
Of course.
He has learned from Pandit Krishnanand.
Yes.
Anyway, so my father was with him. He was for 3 years, but he realized that it's too late for him to actually even think of music as to even play at an advanced level. So it so happened that he noticed he somehow wanted to make me and my sister and me, to do something in music. So he, of course, first put my sister into music, and then at the age of 4, when he saw me that we had gone for a wedding, and as in typical South Indian weddings, you have a Nadaswaram and a Tamil artist performing. So
Yes.
I was near the Tamil artist for a long time, and I was just tapping. I don't know if I was actually tapping on the right beat or not, but I was tapping. So he realized that probably I have my proclivity towards music. So he immediately ushered me into Carnatic music training, and there was my first guru, Nandakumar sir. He's still my guru.
Sure.
What I refer by first gurus with whom I started learning.
Yes.
So Nandakumar sir had shifted from Kerala. He was a very young blood. He had shifted from Kerala, and he was looking for opportunities to teach students. At that time, there was a dearth of Mridangam teachers in Bombay. So he requested and said that, can you come and teach? Can you come home and teach? He said, why not? So my cousin and I, we both were put into Mridangam. My father's elder brother's son, Vivek, who's today is a very famous music producer, Vivek Rajagopalan. And we both started learning together, and our progress was very fast. So whatever he used to teach, we used to be ready, in the next class we was ready. Thankfully, the distractions of today weren't there, and I think education was very different then. We used to have only 2 exams, one just before Diwali and one final exam. There was no regular test and all that, or possibly even if we were there, I was more focused into music. And thanks to my father, he used to ensure that after he comes back from his office, he used to ensure that he sits with me, puts a tal, ensures that I practice. And so the progress was quite rapid for me. So I'll come back to why it was a roller coaster. So let me give you, the initial part was like this. And then at the age of 12, I had my Rangetram with Professor T.N. Krishnan sir. And this is, of course, thanks to my father and my Guruji. And that went off very well. And then T.N. Krishnanji, the best part was he invited me immediately within a few months to perform with him for Spik Mackey.
Wow.
At Indore. It was an all-night, it was an annual convention.
How old were you then?
I was again I had just crossed 12. And he invited me, and it was possibly, maybe slightly older, maybe 13 or 14. So I might be wrong in terms of the timelines. It could be around 1994, 95. So I performed there at Indore. For T.N. Krishnan sir. He invited me. He said that you're playing well. You must play. You're a young boy. You have a huge career ahead of you, but you must play. You must play this concert. It'll be a good experience for you. That's what he told my father. So I played that, and rapidly I got my grade. I appeared for. I used to win competitions, a lot of competitions, and then the college competitions, school competitions, this, that, Shanmukhanand, their scholarship, central CCRT, typical what all opportunities those youngsters get in India. And then I applied for All India Radio Music Competition. There I stood first in India. So what happens there is, Milind, if you don't know, if you get a first prize, you directly get a grade.
Correct.
You directly get B grade. Whereas the others have to audition for B grade. So मुझे B grade मिल गया. And then of course I joined college. And my father wanted me again to do CM. But I was afraid that अगर मैं fail हो गया तो, so I was always afraid कि मैं fail हो गया तो क्या हो गया. Now music में थोड़ा success मिल गया. यहाँ पे जाके I didn't want to burn my fingers. So luckily at that time, Pandit Jasraj ji had conducted a competition, and he had said that whoever comes first will come along with me to US and perform with me and also a solo. So my sister, we both got selected, and luckily मेरा 12th के बाद वो US का trip आ गया. So I had a good excuse to say that I'm not going to give CA entrance.
So there's a lot, as you said, drawing from your own words, Vijay, a roller coaster ride from, let's say, age 4, when you probably picked your Mridangam for the first time, till probably, age 18, 19, when you went to the US with Pandit Jasraj ji. A lot was happening as a super fast journey for you, if I can use that phrase, in the world that was outside to you. I was wondering, what was young Vijay talking to himself? The inner dialogues that unconsciously Vijay was having with himself, as the canvas was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with somebody as huge as TVG sir, almost setting you up on the journey to performing with Pandit Jasraj ji in New York.
The first guru was actually T.S. Nandakumar.
Ji.
So D.S. Nandakumar ji.
Ji.
So TVG sir happened much later.
Sure.
So Guru Nandakumar ji, actually, if you're coming from now, this was the outside world. But so from inside, if you ask me, when I look back, actually, I was struggling from inside. Yeah, because what was happening is, slowly when I reached college, music was the only anchor for me. So what had happened is, my studies, I was mediocre. I wasn't at the top, nor was I at the bottom. I was okay. But I realized that there was one incident, I don't know if I can share, there was one incident which actually shook me during that time, and how music helped me there. It was possibly my 12th standard or first year, I don't remember. It was the semester exam, the half yearly exam, and it was just, as you know, in Bombay at that time, your the first half of the year ends just before the Diwali vacation, and then the Diwali vacation follows. Then you start the second half of the year, and then the final exam happens in March or April. Just before that exam, it so happened that I was carrying some notes, that reading material, which I forgot to actually keep outside. So in the exam hall, वो मेरे desk के नीचे था. It was underneath my desk. So I was just caught, and it was the last exam. The bell was about to ring, and I was happy that my vacations are going to start, and the examiner caught me. And then that publicly shamed me, because he took me in front of everybody, and that image that I had of, I am somebody who's looked up to, was completely came down, because so it led to a lot of internal conflict. Because then what used to happen is, of course, then they realized that there was nothing copied, there was nothing, not even a word but it was a warning that was given that he, he's very casual, or he lacks attitude, lackadaisical attitude nahi hona chahiye. So he should be more careful. So that was a lesson. More than that, for me, what happened is, because I was shamed in front of everybody as somebody who's it was almost like actually committing a huge crime.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very impressionable age for me, because you're actually, your personality is getting built. And at that time, it so happened that so I used to come back to college. I used to always feel everybody's talking about me, and they're saying that, this is the guy who's copied. This is the guy who's copied. So there used to be always an internal conversation that was happening, and there were other complexes in terms of I used to feel that I don't look good. I couldn't speak English. I was very bad at speaking English. And English was your calling card.
Of course.
Now probably it is changing. People who are confident in their own mother tongue, or the language, any language that you take, you're confident, you can probably hold your ground. But still, I think English holds largely gives you you're on a separate pedestal if you speak good English. But at that time, it was your calling card. If you couldn't, so somebody told me that what can you do in life? You can't even speak English. So all that put together, what happened is, so there was an internal turmoil that was going on. On the one side, music was a great anchor for me. So whatever I'm today, even in the corporate career, if I would have gone, music has always been my constant anchor. And I will come back to if I will just slowly connect this to the roller coaster, why I said is for all the amount of, so I started improving my English. I started, reading books and this and that, self-help books, management books. I used to hold this trick that if you learn a new word, shove it in any sentence in the next 24 hours, whether it makes sense or not. If there's a word called obnoxious that you've learned, चलो obnoxious को घुसाओ, 24 hours में कोई भी एक sentence में obnoxious आ जाना चाहिए. So that's how I used to learn. And this was all post after graduation. So it is such a irony that I learned in an English medium school. I went to an English speaking, in a college where English was also quite commonly used. But it was only post graduation that actually I started your language, instruction language was English, but it was like, anyway, so the roller coaster ride was after this that I joined corporate, where in Bombay, the opportunities for music was very less. So I was doing more of fusion here and there, somewhere a bit of films here and there. So there was a huge gap in terms of classical music. So earlier part was competition. So that time just flew like this within a whisker. But after that attention that I used to get came down. And then I realized actually in terms of my performance, when I was 26 or 27, when I went to Chennai, and that is a time where actually I got my reconnect with TVG sir. Of course, he used to always, because he was my father's guru, he was overlooking my progress. Not overlooking, but he was overseeing my progress. I'm sorry, not overlooking, correct, beg your pardon. So I called him, so it was his 75th year celebrated in 2007. He's 1932 born, so 75th year. I went. I told my father, he had called my father and he said, please do send Vijay. So I had gone. In between, before that, I used to only just go to Chennai for 10 days, visit and come. And just visit him, and that's about it. He used to teach a few compositions. But it was in 2007 that I went there and I realized, oh my God, it is now or never. I'm 26 now. If I don't learn now and up my ante and come on to the professional level, where Chennai is seen like how Monaco is for racing, or how F1 racing. So like Chennai is for Carnatic music.
Absolutely.
So wherever you play, you might have played in the best of halls in Carnatic music, in Royal Albert Hall or some other Philharmonic hall. But if you have not played in Chennai, the Chennai audience doesn't care a damn where you've performed. So
MA and NGS are the way to go. Are the places to be.
Yes, Music Academy in Ardhagana Sabha parts. If you are not there in that crowd in Mylapore, if you're not accepted in Mylapore, it doesn't matter wherever you performed.
And it's been not only a roller coaster ride as I hear right now, Vijay, from you, but a intense one at it though, culminating to the recent Margazhi Festival that you are just coming from.
Correct.
Where over almost 45 days of the concert period.
Correct.
You had probably a performance almost every day.
Almost every other day.
And I was looking up an article on the Chennai edition of Indian Express. Right. To be very honest, I have my grounding and roots as a Rasika.
Correct.
As a listener of Indian classical music, which is the Khyal music, not so much as the Carnatic music. So pardon my being a little naive in this conversation. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm sitting somebody who accompanies great Carnatic singers.
It is the same with me. I have, if you flip the equation, my knowledge about Khyal music is very nice. So we both are.
But of course, the conversation over here is not about Khyal music or Carnatic music as such, but about you and the way you see this world of music, both externally and within you. But coming back to this article on Indian Express, which I saw was an article titled "Harmony Beyond Boundaries."
Right.
which was written by a journalist going by the name Vijay Kumar.
Right.
She wrote on the 14th of December.
Right.
And the article opens up with a simple and a beautiful paragraph which sets the context for the Margazhi Festival.
Yeah.
Margazhi Festival. It says, and I quote, "In the crisp December breeze, Chennai, the cultural capital of India, transforms into a harmonious haven every year.
Right.
From mid-December to mid-January, the enchanting notes of Carnatic music fill the air,
Yeah.
marking the arrival of the Margazhi
Correct.
music season.
Correct.
Over the years, what began as a regional celebration has now evolved into a global phenomena,
Correct.
beckoning artists and rasikas, foreigners and NRIs alike, from distant corners of the world."
Right.
Unquote.
Correct.
So you've been playing in this Margazhi
Yeah.
season for
Yeah.
years now.
Yes. No. Yeah.
How have you seen the Gana Sabhas and the world of Gana Sabhas in Chennai, which are revered in that
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
How have you seen it transition over the years? I mean, specifically, what has remained the same and what has changed?
Yeah, in terms of what has remained the same is the moment you enter a Naradagana Sabha or a Madras Music Academy, which is probably the ultimate destination for any Carnatic musician actually, or if you enter Parthasarathi Swami Sabha, which is the oldest Sabha in the history of Carnatic music today, Indian fine arts. These are some of the older, these are older than actually the Madras Music Academy. But Madras Music Academy is considered the ultimate for a Carnatic musician. What is it is that the standard of music or the musicians that they set, not everybody gets a chance to perform there. So to enter, I have gone through slots like any other musician. So first to even enter Music Academy. So why I said just to like a quick recall is after this roller coaster ride, after this rush in my early teens to actually completely a drop in my musical performance, because I went to TVG sir, 3 years he said don't perform. So I was in my 30s, so early 30s, so almost a decade, where I was for 6 years in Bombay and then 4-5 years in Chennai. I had a corporate career parallelly because sir was said that you're not ready for Chennai. So what is Sabha, now connecting this to the Sabha, is it was a matter of huge pride because you are seen by everybody. And in Chennai, during the Margazhi, all these Sabhas, of course, are coming alive. But through the year, there are much smaller Sabhas where actually ardent Carnatic Rasikas come and notice you. And that culminates for you to actually into performance during the Margazhi. So if you take Academy, not everybody gets to perform. So first I had to perform an HCL concert, then a 12 o'clock concert, then 4 years of afternoon slot, and then I get to play in the evening. So by the time you come to the evening, it is a huge achievement for you because you are marked, you are ranked, okay,
and you're noticed.
And in Academy, in Music Academy, you're ranked. There are there are these great musicians who are anonymous. You don't know who's actually marking you for that year. They'll be somewhere sitting in the auditorium and they mark the concerts, and you, on the basis of which you are awarded. And for me, the greatest moment was when I got in one of the afternoon slots, I got the Best Mridangist Award in 2017 December. I got it in 2018 January. Typically, the tradition at Music Academy is January 1st is where the awards are given to. So, what makes it special is the very legacy. When you get into the Music Academy hall and you see a gallery where an array of the great musicians. So it is that connection to the legacy which makes it even more special. It is because you know that here it is on the very same stage that Palakkad Mani Iyer has played, or the great Jambavans like Payani Subramanya Pillai and Palakkad Raghu and my Guru TVG sir. It is the very stage that I am going to be sitting and playing. That itself is a moment of is a great pleasure. It's a moment of arrival for me personally. I'm sure that for most of them it's the same. you don't just look at it as, when you perform here, next year I'm going to get more concerts. That may be one part of the professional pursuit. But the larger part in Chennai is, whether you are performing at Naradgana Sabha, you are performing at Partharthi Swami Sabha, Brahmagana Sabha, or Indian Fine Arts, the best part is you're part of a legacy, and you're continuing. You're part of a continuum of tradition, which may be recent. The Sabha culture might be recent in terms of the overall history of music, but still it is almost 100 years now. So you are continuing, and you are part of the legacy, which you feel very contented and satisfied for a moment, keeping professional pursuits and money aside. In terms of what has changed now is, the kind of audiences have changed. Now many more sabhas have sprung up, that the cities are undergoing a change. The population is, even as 15 years ago in 2008 when I went to Chennai, I myself can see a change within 15 years, what Chennai was and what Chennai is. And the area that I live now is actually considered out of town today. I live almost at the edge of Chennai, but that itself is now becoming part of Chennai. There are many musicians actually staying near my place. So what was largely near Mylapore, now today, because of inflation, because of urbanization, because of so many things, mainly largely inflation. So the cities are growing up. So sabhas are coming up everywhere, so that otherwise it becomes very difficult for audiences to travel from one place to the other. So it has got spread. Audiences, of course, the NRI crowd has, because after the tech revolution, a lot of the crowd, the Tamilian crowd, migrated to the US, and unlike the Gujaratis, the Patels who are businessmen who have to mix with the Americans, here the Tamil community was very clear. When you go to work, you are with them, but when they are on their own, it was again the culture which was keeping them together, and they didn't want to lose the connect. Correct. So the Carnatic music is alive, and the Cleveland Tyagaraja Aradhana, and there are so many sabhas in the US. So they come and perform in Chennai, and in that sense it has become global. It is still largely US driven, but I see a lot of people, a lot of music rasikas and musicians coming from Australia, from Singapore, from UK, and of course US has a large chunk of it. So in that sense it is global, and a lot of the whites and other communities also taking up to Carnatic music in terms of listening. And there are many frequenters, faces who are common faces you will see every December. They're there, and you go to Facebook, you'll find a dozen of such listeners who come only for Margazhi. And there's a Japanese guy called Akira Ho, if I'm not mistaken. I don't get if I'm getting his name right. He's a photographer and ardent Carnatic music fan. So there are many of the Lars Fredriksson. So there's so many of them who come. So in that sense, Carnatic music has changed in terms of it was largely Mylapore centric, and T Nagar possibly a bit T Nagar if you know Chennai.
Sure.
Now it is globalized across, and it is it does of course has a global touch.
Vijay, as a child, when I was growing up in Mumbai, in Shivaji Park, Dadar, the Dadar Matunga Cultural Club was the epicenter of Hindustani classical music. As a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, I remember going with my father to attend classical music concert by, as a child I knew nothing about these names, but of course over the years one has known that they were the greatest of all times, like Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Jitendra Abhisheki ji, whether it was Malini Rajurkar, some of the greatest of singers, and or even sitar players or flautists or violin players. Now invariably what attracted the audience to any music performance then, I don't know how it is now, but probably it may be the same, is the main performer. That was the draw. That drew the people. Then I remember the accompanists, whether it was a tabla player or whether it was the harmonium player. I remember there was a concert at Chabildas school in Dadar of Pandit Jitendra Abhisheki ji, which ended up at about 11:30 or 11:45 in the night. It started at about 8 o'clock. What was supposed to be a 2-hour concert ended up being 3.5-hour concert. It was very intense. I mean, those concerts, those days at least only had a start time. End time was dependent completely on the performers and the audiences. I mean,
Correct.
if there was,
Absolutely.
joy all around, it would continue. And almost close to midnight, and the harmonium player was a lady, I forgot her name. The performance was in Chabildas Dadar, and she was staying in Kalyan. And the last train to Kalyan was at 11:30.
Oh.
And the show got over at 11:45. And she was lost as to how she would go home. And I mean, nobody noticed her once the show was over. Whilst the show was on, her harmonium accompaniment was noticed, appreciated, applauded just by everybody. But then those names of the accompanists do not get the focus or the spotlight the way the main performer does. You have been an accompanist all your life.
Correct.
As a Mridangam player, providing rhythm and tal, which is so essential to Indian classical music, even Carnatic music. I wonder whether, as a layman question, do percussionists get kind of a social acceptance from the fraternity itself, and how are they received in the family and in the community?
Yes, it's a very, very good question and a very valid question, and it is very much in perspective, and it's put in perspective. See, I mean, it's my opinion. It's hard truth is, India is a land where Shruti is Mata. The first is Shruti. Uske baad rhythm. Right? So always, if you're a singer, I'll give you my example. I've been playing Mridangam for so many years.
Yes.
But the moment somebody knows that actually I can also sing, and if they have listened to something I've sung, they said, "You're such a wonderful singer, yaar. Why don't you sing?" So that is a hard truth. So that is the reason why, and that is there even in I've heard Ghulam Ali ji saying. I'll come back to Ghulam Ali ji. I saw his interview in Aapki Adalat, and he was talking about the Ghazal Badshah, Ghulam Ali Saab, and he was saying that he had in his childhood years, he had some problems with the voice, and he used to play tabla, and he asked his walid, as they say, the father, that shall I shift to tabla? तो उन्होंने बोला, बेटा ये मत करना, पहले गाना, उसके बाद बजाना, उसके बाद नाचना. So that kind of structure was there even then, whether it is qua location, whether it is north or south.
Sure.
So in India especially, is always a singer or something to do with melody is always received easily because you can associate. And to anybody I can say, if I put there are of course some exceptions there. For example, Kerala, the Chenda Melam percussion people can listen for hours. The Tawil can be listened for. But always, the Mridangam has been an accompanying instrument. So for me, as an individual who's taking up this as a profession, social acceptance first in the family, it's not easy. They will always say, don't do it. Thankfully, my father, because he had a profession. But otherwise, if you take generally, first of all, actually, even because the Mridangam, I mean, percussion now coming to specific, Mridangam is a skin instrument.
Correct.
And those days, Brahmins, you will not touch dead skin. So you will hardly had Brahmins playing Mridangam, which changed after Palghat Mani Iyer. Because there were other Brahmin Mridangis before, but Palghat Mani Iyer actually took it to altogether different, gave it a new idiom. He was one responsible for giving Mridangam a status. Okay. But again, the status was not still high. People never preferred, because the main part was, paisa aayega kya? Will you be able to earn money? Ladki kaun dega? And today, the community that I come from, and today most upwardly mobile communities, whether they are any caste they belong to, do look for somebody who has a job or who does a business or today if they say they have to be part of IT, the first question is what is your package?
Yeah, financial security means
Financial
so much
security.
in today's times.
And it's quite natural. I don't deny, because had I been, if I am a father, I'm going to give my daughter, I'll ask a similar question.
Sure.
Possibly I may take a different call that I being a musician.
Sure.
So one is family acceptance. In the field today, I think there are far more avenues for mridangists, for accompanists. You have Hindustani music, you have film music there we can perform. But still, you're a supporting role. So it is a supporting actor in a movie is never on the same pedestal as the main hero. You know, I might be, say, a Vikram Gokhale in a movie. A Vikram Gokhale will never get the same stature what a Shah Rukh Khan gets, even if Vikram Gokhale is 10 times a better actor and he would have got 10 times a national award. But Shah Rukh Khan is a brand. वैसे ही यहाँ पे singer always first attention. He is the main artist. वो hero है या heroine है. और accompanying artist accompanying. And I think it's an undeniable fact, and there should be no qualms in that, in my opinion. And I always knew that मेरे को attention कम ही होने वाला है. Not because I'm not a good player or bad player, because there is only a certain role that an accompanying artist gets. And even till now, Mridangam mein that solo has not come. Very few musicians, like now a musician called Patri Satish Kumar or Ananta R. Krishnan, they're all breaking the boundaries and trying many different things, which is fantastic. And I'm sure that it's a part of the evolution, and I'm sure percussion will find its own place. But still, the main artist is, if you're a main artist and if you're a singer, even if you can sing 2 lines in sur, your acceptance is 10 times better than even if you're fantastic and a professional mridangam artist. And I can say for sure.
No, I mean, of course, tal and rhythm, as they say, are so essential and important in the Indian musical system, be it the North Indian Khyal or Carnatic. And somebody once said to me, he was a shishya of Tal Yogi
Pandit Suresh Talwalkar ji.
Kya baat hai. And he was saying that Pandit ji, his guru, used to always say that as a tabla player, your job is and will always be an accompanist.
Correct.
And your primary goal is to elevate
Absolutely.
the musical experience
Satyavachan.
that people have come for and be in service of
Satyavachan.
the larger musical experience that is being created and led by the lead performer.
Absolutely.
Now, as a mridangam player, when you are on the stage, and this is something which has always, I've always wondered that every time I have watched a classical musical performance, it invariably starts with an alapi. I'm assuming here it's a vocal performance.
Correct.
And the alapi goes on for a while, for a couple of minutes. For some, it could even be 7, 8, 10 minutes also. And the only accompanying instrument that is playing at that point in time is either the violin or probably the harmonium. And the percussionist is actually waiting on the side.
Correct.
What happens in those moments to you when you are waiting on the side while the alapi is just happening and your time has not yet come to play your first note? What happens to you there?
Yeah. In Carnatic music, what happens is, a lot of times the alapi, I'll come to this, you start with the varnam. So
Yes.
you already have on the job the first bit. But a lot of times when the alapi is in the beginning, and if it's a decently big alap, which doesn't happen many times, but for a Carnatic musician, what is the composition that he's going to sing?
Oh, you have no clue?
No clue. Sometimes they don't say. Most of the times we don't know what is a list, because the musicians in Carnatic music, it's a composition based.
Sure.
It's not just one, 2 lines or a couplet that you're taking and expanding on it. Here is largely the anchor is the composition. So I may not know what composition, whether is there going to be the swara patterns or the niraval, as you call, which is in Carnatic music called niraval, which is similar to the tan actually. So you do a tan with the lyrics actually. So and then the swara patterns. So you don't know which tal. You don't know whether it is going to be सम से दो मात्रा छोड़ के या सम से दो मात्रा पहले. You don't know. So many things happen. A lot of times, once you mature, you just enjoy the raga, you know. And sometimes what happens, I try to get into the mood of the singer and what composition he might sing. So, and then I get a joy. As a musician, in terms of the evolution, I have realized that the more you get occupied, whether am I going to play well, the performance becomes, the performance quality is low. When you surrender and when you say that here I am and I'm completely in the moment trying to be with the singer and elevate the singer's music, I think the concert automatically goes to a different plane where I forget my identity ki aaj main kitna thali, how many claps am I going to get, will my tanyavartanam be, because always in the initial part of your life you'll be like, the whole kachari concert is there, but you'll be bothered about the solo which is going to come after 1.5 hours.
Correct.
Whether will I play good. Now when you have, because in Carnatic music solo is only a small part, 75% of the times or 80% of them you're either sitting idle or you're accompanying. In accompaniment there is a huge scope for you to actually, in Carnatic music I can speak of, to show what is your skill, because you're accompanying compositions, each composition in a different tala, matra count is different, and then there are swaras, there are nirvals, and there are tilana, there is a varnam, there is a padam javali. So there is a whole bouquet. There's like a variety as much as you want. It's like a thali. You want whatever variety you want, you can get different varieties in different places. So an accompanist has a role, has a very huge role to play in a Carnatic concert, and it's an absolutely pleasurable fact that sometimes I feel I'm an accompanist. There is a thrill for me because the whole game is in anticipation. And sometimes when they do the swara, when you also come at the same time, or when they're singing a particular sangati, as you call, like an improvisation in a particular song, and even in the song there will be improvisations in the song. When I play it the way they're singing, the joy that you get, and when you both come together on the sum at the same point without knowing what the singer is going to sing, I follow him and I come to the sum. That is a pleasure. That is a eureka moment for accompanying artists.
So you said a beautiful word called anticipation. As a percussionist, as a Mridangam player, much of your presence on the stage is to wait.
Yeah.
So anticipation and waiting as an experience is a constant companion for somebody like you. Now, if I were to stay with these two words, but look at it from the world which is other than music, but there's so much of Vijay which is beyond the Mridangam player too.
Yeah.
What is Vijay anticipating and waiting today for?
If you ask me for
Outside of the world of music.
Outside of the world of music, waiting for, I wouldn't say waiting for, I'm looking for a moment where I can be completely financially independent. I can create a corpus for myself and just be free from all this world of rat race and playing music only for myself. If somebody calls me for a concert, I'll go for it. And somewhere near a riverside, teaching music, creating an institute, teaching music, helping musicians grow up in music. That's about it. I mean, outside of music, if you call, there's actually nothing. I am not an ambitious man in terms of I'm not in the process of becoming. Like J. Krishnamurti said, in the process of becoming there is death. So we all are in the process of becoming. That is, even when we are small, most people ask you, "Beta, what do you want to become?" Very few ask you what you want to do. There is a difference between what you're doing and what you want to become. So my focus is only doing. Now I'm doing music. Tomorrow there is financial planning as one thing which has been going on, and I've been advising a few clients on their wealth. I might actually take up that if that is a new interest, I might kind of dedicate more time to that and let music happen. It's not that I'm saying no to music. Music will happen, but there's nothing wait. The waiting game has already happened, because after that roller coaster I said, I went to Chennai. I had to wait for a long time to be recognized as Vijay Natesan as a Mridangist. Now that has to an extent come, but I would at the same time, in terms of stimuli and response, the life with my daughter is something I'm looking forward to, and the stimuli and response in terms of how she's responding to life, how I'm going to be giving her my suggestions, and how is she going to react to it. All this I'm waiting, because it is very interesting to see children growing up, and that is one phase I'm actually looking forward to see what will she be doing.
Aranya, right?
Arunya. Will she be a musician? Will she be a doctor? Because she says she wants to. So I always tell her, do you want to be a doctor, or would you want to practice medicine and treat patients? So she now says that I want to treat patients. I said, that is good. If you treat patients, you'll be called a doctor. You don't think of becoming a doctor.
So let's look at the grihastha in you.
Yeah.
The inner world of Vijay.
Yeah.
The role of a grihastha here.
Yeah.
That of a father, a husband, and a son. What happens in that world?
In that world, the biggest part is you are supposed to, we have to keep our, the challenge for musicians I've seen in many cases is, or anybody who has achieved, I have not yet achieved, I don't consider myself as achieved or arrived, but some of the legends that I've moved with, they carry their personality home. So they behave as I'm Shah Rukh Khan at home, or I'm Vijay Natesan at home, I'm a musician. No. With my daughter, I don't even talk to her as I'm a musician. I sit with her, I practice with her, I tell her these are the things. So now my balance is, as a son, I'm taking care of my parents. So for them, to see to it that they are happy, I'm with them. And that was one of the reasons for me to actually come back partially to Bombay, is because I felt that what is life without parents? There's no meaning. So be with them, serve them. It's not that they actually need me, but if I'm there with them, they're always happy. So I spend a lot of time with them. I spend a lot of time with my daughter. I help my wife by spending a lot of time with my daughter, because then she's free, so that she not take care of. So I go to school. I enjoy dropping my daughter to school, picking her up, playing with her. So I kind of do the compensating part for the strict mom that Lakshmi is my wife, that she's very strict. So I do the balancing act where I am the joker, and I entertain her with my jokes, with my humor, with my light nudgets of pulling her leg, this and that. And then also at the same time getting the seriousness in terms of music, and ensuring that it's very complementary to music. There you are a serious professional, you are practicing, you're going to be in front of the audience. Here you're totally away from it. I enjoy this as much or more, because it's as spiritual, where you get to, I feel very lucky to actually have a child, and to see to it that, because the child is actually not yours, it belongs to the world. So it's my responsibility to ensure that she is one responsible person who can probably serve the world in her own way. So in that context, if you see, I feel very happy. Sometimes initially I used to feel restless, because I've always been outside. So when I go for 1.5 months to Chennai and come back, I'm very restless, because suddenly you're not performing. But after 2 or 3 days, I settle down, and I've started really enjoying that bit where I go and buy groceries, I help them, I do my classes. In between that, I sit with her, I play with her, I help my wife by whatever, if she wants to buy something and there's some work. By the way, I've there's one good thing that I've enjoyed, because I'm also alone when I'm in Chennai, is organizing the house. I find it the most spiritual exercise for me. When I'm organizing the house all by myself, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Say more.
Organizing the house. It's beautiful.
Can you elaborate? What do you actually end up doing there? Because I know you are in Chennai for 100 days a year, you said.
So when I'm alone there, doing your own bed, washing the utensils, cooking, washing the clothes, brooming and cleaning the house, going and getting groceries, all that, and then if there are things which are lying here and there, organize your cupboard, take out your clothes and find out what is good, what is needed and what is not needed. I've realized that a lot of things in your house is not actually needed, because a single person can live in a small house. So, but at the same time, of course, you have Mridangam, you need at least one room for Mridangams. So all that, of course, looking at my Mridangams and ensuring every now and then that they are in tune. Apart from that, just your basic being in the house and ensuring that the house is the spiritual abode. Your house is the first spiritual abode. If you're keeping the house in a mess and going to temples and tirtha yatras, that is the next step. The first temple is the first temple is your body. You have to take care of your body, because the Atma is in the body. So if the Atma is in the body is a temple. And actually that is the reason why when you go and visit even a outside a temple, and if you see Lord Vithala, you first see and then you close your eyes and pray. Why do you close your eyes? Because you are actually finally connected to the Atma which is inside, the one which cannot be seen. So that's why you close your eyes. Right?
Sorry to bring you back to the mortal world.
Yeah.
Because I think somehow I find myself a lot in that world these days. I have been on my trip of spirituality too, only to realize that it's a kind of a journey down the rabbit hole. It's an abyss. You try to find something and you get nothing in the hand. Sab haath se nikal jata hai type se.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think we live in a world of duality, where you get something, you lose something. So coming back to that part of Purushartha, which is Artharjan, managing one's or looking after or being responsible for one's own finances, for oneself and for the family, because
Absolutely.
all said and done, the world of music, the world of sabhas, the world of Carnatic music can be very seductive.
Yeah.
It can take you in the realms of God knows what, and there could be a possibility or a risk of not looking after your grihastha duty.
Yeah.
As a musician living in today's time as a percussionist with such a long career, how do you see the balance between pursuit of music as a divine responsibility and simultaneously balancing it with the householder's role of looking after oneself and the whole family?
You've asked the absolutely perfect question. Is as much as classical music is spiritual, we are providing it today as an entertainment because we're doing it in front of an audience.
Yes.
Right? So, as much as you are there at the moment, you're giving your best, you must be equally be aware of the money that you're charging and how are you managing that money. One is, I know of a lot of musicians, and I'm sure in the history of entertainment, there have been people who have charged a lot and they have ended up as a pauper because of their lifestyle, because of the way they spend.
Well, the film industry is full of such stories.
So you will. So I'm sure that even the music industry is not is not away from the Maya. It's basically the Maya, your capability, your inadequacy to resist. So it could be you splurge on materialistic things, you splurge on other women. There are enough stories on that. You splurge on so many other things. In your life, you get into habits like drinking. I do drink once in a while, but where is the balance? And every time, luckily for me, I've always been reminding myself as to. So thankfully, my professional background as a finance man helped me, because I was in the field of wealth management. So I know how wealth can be created and wealth can be actually destroyed within a whisker, because I've seen that in 2008 when the markets crashed. I know of traders who've lost everything that they had on a single day. So what I do is, for me, it is very important. I am very careful. I take out some money and keep it aside from expenditure. So my expenditure is only with whatever I have in hand. So, and during COVID was a classic example of all this is, as in accountancy, they say, when your income doesn't increase, reduce your expenditure. It's as simple as that. So this entire bubble that is created, that you're a musician, you're a big man. If I'm getting into that tomorrow, I might be touring abroad all the time. For example, I'm on a whirlwind tour of 6 months or 8 months. I've toured this, and suddenly you're in a bubble. Your spending patterns change. It is then that you actually got to, pull yourself a bit and come back and say that this is not, and music is not unlike an employment. Today, even employment has become patchy with, global risks and all that. Layoffs happening globally. But still, compared to a musician's life can go anytime. You might be out of preference, because as an accompanying artist, I have to be preferred by the main artist, the lead singers.
Of course.
So I have to keep that in mind. So whenever there is a good time, it's as simple as you save for the rainy day. So of course there might be other cushion like teaching and all that, which will help you, which help you financially. But whatever said and done, unless I am able to keep out some money, so for example Arunya or somebody, there is always a monthly investment running, which goes into savings, and which I don't touch. So I am clear that this is a corpus I need to have at the age of 60, and this is how the inflation might move. So this much I need to have to live a life not lesser than what I'm living today, if not higher, at least not lesser. So unless I have that financial discipline, so if 1 month the income is lower, cut my expenditure. Thoda bahar khana kam kar do, instead of that, eat at home. The home food is equally great. If you're some days you have played 2 big concerts and you've got good money, okay, go to a 5-star and eat. Not a problem. Not against any particular thing, but to say that it has to be commensurate and in terms of percentage of the income that you're earning.
So let's look at this from the point of view of looking at it across 2 generations, and you have been a part of both. I mean, you are a part of generation of Carnatic musicians today, and yet in your growing up years, in your formative years, you have spent time and accompanied some great artists of yesteryears. When you look at the generation prior to you of musicians, whether it is vocalists or accompanying artists, and the generation with which you are a part of today, when you wear the lens of pragmatism, what do you see shifting across generations?
Yeah, actually, what has happened is, even I think that even in those generations, even those musicians, even if they may not have been educated to the extent that today people are getting educated, but the native wisdom was there. So they would invest in property, or they would invest in gold. Today, in terms of it has changed, and today you have access to many products online and this and that. But having said that, I must say that musicians, even in the past, there are musicians who have been extremely prudent and who have set their careers for the children. Even if they don't earn, it's okay. It's sort of a financial position where there are many musicians that I can name. Of course, I don't want to name anybody, but whom I know personally, who have done extremely well and at the same time balanced. So those are my role models: balanced between pleasure and at the same time saving for the rainy day. So I look up to those people, and I came across one book written by P.V. Subramanian, and I have also heard him. He said he has written a book called Save 100 a Day and Retire as a Millionaire. So, which is very prudent in terms of how saving, because for me, it was my father that I look up to. My father is an extremely cautious spender. I'm not that way. I've slightly gone to the next level where in terms of I spend quite a bit. I'm slightly of a different personality, but at the same time, something as I learned from him is how to not spend unnecessarily. So I think for a musician, from my perspective, if I see, it's very important to balance and not get carried away. Because if I looked at my friends who are in the corporates, their spending is something different. Because so I would put it only in a simple way: look at it on a percentage basis and not on an absolute basis. So look at it on a percent basis. If he's spending X amount, it will be the same percentage of his income.
Sure.
But in the absolute amount, it might be 5 times more than you.
Sure.
But if I look at it, the percentage income, I need to know that at least 20 to 25% of my income should be into savings. Unless I do that, it doesn't matter whether I get Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Bharat Ratna also. Tomorrow, I am not going to get vegetables free. Because a Padma Bhushan is only a title, you don't get any benefits with it. You don't even get a train ticket concession or nothing. You might probably get air on the line. You might. So it's a recognition. It's a very. It is not to demean the recognition, but it is to be, as you called it, pragmatism. On the pragmatic side, kanda free mein nahi aane wala hai.
So Atmanirbhar, of course, is the way to go.
Atmanirbhar absolutely is the way to go. Unless you take care of yourself, tomorrow nobody can come to actually. You cannot expect the world to be. There might be few people who might be Samaritans and who might actually come and help you. But I think you should not leave. You should not lead a life that way. You should be quite. Today is an age of information. There is so much available. Be smart. Use the technology and save money to lead a happy life at the end of the day.
And you also experiment with a lot of new age music.
Correct.
You have done fusion.
Correct.
With people playing different instruments and different styles of music.
Right.
Whilst on one end in the Gan Sabha,
yes,
in the Margazhi, you are very much rooted in the tradition. And yet you are equally comfortable on the other end of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Who is the Vijay in the fusion world?
In the fusion world, he is somebody who is just alive to music. There is no background of, oh, I'm a Carnatic musician, you know what, I play the Mridangam. Mridangam is the percussion instrument of the South. This is to be played this way. No, I'm ready to experiment. So, for which my guru has been a great inspiration, because he, and in his age, collaborated with a lot of Western musicians. He has played Jugalbandis. He has played with even Birju Maharaj ji. So, and of course, one of the greatest inspirations has been Zakir Bhai. I used to always, or Zakir ji, I should not call him Bhai, but Zakir ji is, I would see, if a man who could play for an extremely just Dadar, Vileparle, Pune kind of an audience, and the next day he could play for a non-Rasika
Berkeley Music Ensemble.
On Berkeley Music Ensemble. The next day he could do a fusion. The third day he could play with Kathak. Why can't others do? Not that everybody can be the Zakir Hussain. Zakir Hussain is one in a billion. So, but still, if there is something, there must be a process. So the process is being alive. And if you like music and enjoy music in general, it doesn't matter. You are, at the end of the day, if it's ultimately about stimuli and response. If there is a stimuli, something that is captivating you, as a musician, your job is to respond. And it is how you are responding is what matters. If you're free, and if you're free in your mind, let's see what happens. And if you're able to, you might know, just a week and a half ago, I performed at NMACC, which was last week actually, with Santoor, flute, tabla, and myself. It was a fabulous experience. And luckily, what helps me was, even as a child, thankfully my Bombay experience helped me, because I was exposed to Hindustani music to a certain extent. I was exposed to fusion music. I was exposed to film music. So it nurtures you on a holistic basis, and not be confined to only classical music of the South. So where on the one hand there is, it's like a wheel. There is something at the center and there are spokes to it. So there is a content of classical music at the center, and there are various spokes. One spoke is a fusion music. One spoke is where you're playing for dance. The other spoke is where you're doing Jugalbandi. Third could be tomorrow an ensemble with Western orchestra. It could be anything. The hub and spoke model. Correct. So I think a musician should be, and today is an age where people are open to accepting you in various avatars. There, in those days, it was very strict. No, I cannot sing in films. Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab, no, I will not sing. But if you
is that how Bhul Bhulaiya happened to you?
Bulbulai was a fantastic experience. It was just happenstance. I happened to get a call at about in the evening and said that you've been asked to come at 8 o'clock. And I went there. Aditya Kalanpur, my old friend and a fantastic, great tabla vidwan of today, Pandit Aditya Kalanpur, and he was also there. And we both played for Bulbulai, where we didn't even know what the song was. We were given a track and we were said was the kind of rhythm that you got to play, and I loved it. So now I'm enjoying it, but at that time somewhere I was not satisfied because I was not playing a lot of classical concerts. So I use now this mix where there is I'm as much as liking classical music, I'm as much as wanting to do wanting to experiment. So this is is a healthy balance which I would love to maintain in my professional the musical career side, where it's an age where to experiment. I recently performed for a dance lecture demonstration, and I want to perform possibly more in the future. I want to explore everything that as a Mridangist I can do as a rhythm artist actually.
I was in conversation with one of the finest Hindustani classical vocalist. I won't get into the name because I'm not sure whether I'm permitted to use her name, but I can only quote the conversation I had with her. And I asked her, because she's been performing for almost 4 decades now. She's been singing on the Savai Gandharva Mahotsav in Pune for almost 3 decades. One of the most sought after names and a very humble person. She's a family friend too. I asked her a very naive question. She had come over home for dinner that you have performed for 45 years now, and you continue to perform Hindustani vocal music. What is it that you look for in any performance? Because I was under the impression that after performing for so many years, a performance may become little predictable. You are so comfortable with the craft and the art that you can possibly decide and choose the moment at which you want an applause.
Correct.
How long you want the applause to be. You are in complete control. So with that kind of experience of singing or performing over the years, what is it that keeps you going and alive, to use your word, what you said a little moment ago? And she said that in a 2-hour performance, she says that even today I find my own 4-5 minutes
Absolutely.
where I am in a dance with the swaras
Correct.
and the layas.
Correct.
So there is this swar lay tal vishwa that I am a part of,
Correct.
and I am in some kind of a rhythmic dance with them.
Correct.
And invariably that is where I feel I come alive.
Correct.
The world ends for me.
Correct.
I wonder if this happens to you, Vijay, when you are on the stage, though
Absolutely.
you are accompanying a vocalist or an instrumental player.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How are
Very
those
much.
moments for you?
Those moments are moments of highest, what do you call it? It is not called pleasure also, where the self is absent. You are one with the divine. We can call it God, we can call it whatever name you want to call it, but there is no ego. Those moments are moments when, for me, those moments come when actually there have been some concerts where I did the same thing as what the vocalist did. We both had not spoken to each other as to what we were doing, and we both came at the same time. Similarly with the Ganjira Vidwan, it happened. In Carnatic music you have 2 percussions. Typically you will have a Mridangam, you have a Ganjira or a Ghatam, and we both played the same thing at the same time. So those moments of thrill, those moments, some are thrill, some are absolutely divine, where you actually forget yourself. And then of course when you have the claps which follow after that, all those are some moments which you cherish. You don't always play for claps. It's not for claps you play. But when you actually play without expecting anything, You just give your best, and then the audience congratulates you or peps you up. They pep you up with a clap. And so that thick sound of a clap is what an as a musician wants. He doesn't actually bother at that time what is the payment he's getting at the sabha, whether it's a good payment or he had accepted just reluctantly. All those things don't occur to him then. All that matters is how you perform there. So all said and done for a musician, when the musician gives the 100% to his music, automatically the crowd will be in with you. And this is not to ignore that you completely get into a cocoon and just not completely ignore the audience. You be aware of the audience, but that is what is called when you're alive. When you're alive, all this will fall, and those slight moments of thrill, slight moments of fun, moments of ecstasy, moments of completely the non-self, that everything makes a life of a musician worth living it. Whether you make big money or small money, that's secondary. It's very pragmatic, very relevant, but that's secondary. First is the life is extremely is worth living. I mean, it can't be expressed in words.
Can I then say, in those rare moments of coming alive, when there is something beyond you that is probably taking charge and control of you, or probably even the whole performance, despite you being a performer, in those, let's say, zazen moments, do you also become a rasika?
Absolutely. Sometimes when you're playing, you understand the grandeur of the composition, as in when you're accompanying. When you understand of the grandeur of the composition, you are nothing but a rasika. And when there's a singer who's fabulously improvising, there are many young musicians who are trailblazing today in the field of Carnatic music, who are doing things which is taking the past story forward with their innovation. You are the first rasika, because unless you enjoy their music, how are you going to respond? And there will be, obviously, you will be accompanying some musicians who don't really inspire you. That may happen. I mean, it's quite natural. I may not inspire them, they may not inspire me. It happens. But those musicians where they inspire you, and when they give a fresh perspective to the same thing that I've accompanied 1,000 times before, but when they bring a fresh perspective, it is a rasika that, unless I'm a rasika, I won't be able to respond. And as I said earlier, it is stimulus and response. When he's challenging you with something, I got to respond. So unless I appreciate what he's doing, and I appreciate it as a rasika first, the musician comes secondary. So it is, without being a rasika, it is what are you as a musician?
So in those moments when you, as a Mridangam player, whilst you are playing the instrument in your hand, those coming alive moments when you become a rasika are also possible moments of some improvisation happening, some bowl happening in the moment.
Correct.
Which probably even surprises you that,
correct,
how did I do that?
Correct.
You were not prepared for it and it just happened. Any particular performance that you're still holding close to you, where those moments happen to you and those bowls happen to you? And if I could request you to connect to that moment and recite those bowls now.
Yeah, it was actually one of my first instances where in Adital, which is a cycle of 8 beats, suddenly they give me Tanyavartanam, and which was 3 beats after the first beat. So 3 counts after the first beat. So it is, if you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, ta, it was like that. 1, 2, 3, ta. That was a space that I have to my Tanyavartanam, whenever I'm ending the Tanyavartanam, it should be after that, after 3 counts. Which generally you play either on the first count, which is called the sum, or it is after 2 counts, or it is after 3 counts. Here it was after 3 or 4 counts, but here it was after 3 counts. So on the spur of the moment, it's a very simple composition, but on the spur of the moment, I did something what my guru had taught me to play on the sum. So I just tweaked it a bit, and I did it so that the composition lands after 3 counts.
Can we have the bowl?
Yes. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, ta,
क्या बात है, क्या बात है. Let's have it on the Mridangam.
Absolutely.
Vijay, it's been such a joy and an honor and a pleasure to be in conversation with you. Not just to explore the world of Carnatic music that you are so intrinsically a part of, and that is so much a part of you as well, but also look at the inner world of Vijay Natesan, the grihastha, the finance professional, which he was once in his life, a very pragmatic musician, steeped into tradition yet willing to experiment with new genres, new spaces, new accompaniments. What shall I say? It's just giving me, as a rasika of this conversation, a great joy. You are leaving me with a shantam experience. Love to hear from you. How have you found this conversation?
Yeah, first of all, as I've thanked you, I don't want to be formal, but it has been, initially I was a little, I was wondering what do I speak actually, but as we speak, what happens is when it was, of course, as you engage in a conversation, it is also a moment for the speaker. Here, even I was alive here, is when the questions are asked, it also asks, I'm asking that question to myself, it is leading me to something which I may not have actually thought before. So there is something that I'm going to take away from this conversation to applying it in my life, and to say that, oh, this question, this actually I had not really thought of. So, and as and when we are speaking, so it is like when you are playing a Tanyavartanam and there is a particular phrase that you're playing and you're trying to improvise, and you're realizing that actually you're not equipped well enough to improvise in this. Okay, come, today is a session, you go back. This happens so many times during performances. You play, and if that concert goes well, great, but you come back and say that, okay, this is not what I did not play well, and do it. So similarly, and also you might get fresh thoughts from other singers who might say, oh, this is a nice thought, I should work on this. Similarly, this conversation was very engaging in the sense that it also made me think and become aware of where I am in terms of my life. And thank you so much, because it was not like a typical question answer session, but at the same time it was you provided the nuggets, and you did the job of an accompanist today, where you actually lifted this concert of conversation. So thank you so much, Milind, for this wonderful, I don't call it opportunity or anything, but this wonderful session, and for inviting me on this this podcast session. I'm sure that it must be, I actually envy you in the sense that you get to meet so many different people and understand from them. Each one is in a different world. So music is a different world, finance is a different world, and architecture is a different world. So there are parallel worlds which are actually existing in our minds. It's the same mind, but there are worlds existing within our minds, and you get to engage with them. I'm sure that I look forward to not just being here again, but to listening to your podcast sessions going ahead. The December was a little busy, but I look forward to your sessions henceforth, and I will certainly look forward to listening to more sessions from you with your other panel artists.
I mean, the whole goal of Wings podcast is to be in conversation with young Indians in terms of who they are, what they are, celebrate them as they are, and try and be in a space where one of my mentors and teachers used to always say, a space where there is a possibility of Saharidaya Samvadam.
Correct.
So today was one such experience. Once again, thank you so much.
Likewise. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you for your time today, my dear listeners. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri, signing off. Goodbye, take care, and stay safe. This podcast is for general information purposes only and should not be considered as a piece of any professional advice. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of its guest. Creators of this podcast expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct or indirect, consequential or other damages arising out of any individual's use of this podcast. For feedback and suggestions, please write to wingsindia75@gmail.com. Thank you.